All right, we'll shift from football to baseball, and what a great week. First of all, happy opening day. It was a great time of year, and
Thank you.
it just feels so energized to have baseball back and have this Red Sox team not just back on the field, but really just back in the conversation. Like how good that feels around the city.
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up with a massive Red Sox fan, and one of my really good friends is a massive Red Sox fan. So that was already a known thing coming into New England for me. And I've heard about the excitement around everything. I'm witnessing it and feeling it myself now. I mean, just the top of this week, everybody like the planning, the orchestration of preparing for opening day. I never realized the magnitude of it. So it's pretty sick. Happy opening day to you as well. And what better way to be excited about a season than to have, the names that are on this Red Sox roster, the prospects, top prospects when it comes to the MLB as a whole. So there's just so many different narratives around this team that make you so excited to see how it all going to play out. And you've got some previous Red Sox players that think they're going all the way. So that's what makes it that much more fun to get this season going.
I can't wait for this team to return to Fenway next week and see what the energy is going to be like early this season in April. 2 series before that, they go to Baltimore on the second part of this opening road trip. They start the season down in Arlington, Texas against the Rangers, a 4:05 first pitch on Thursday, and the long-awaited debut, the regular season debut in a game that actually matters for their big offseason pitching acquisition and Garrett Crochet to take the ball, who has been just phenomenal throughout spring training. Was there a more fun player to watch? And there were so many to pick from. Obviously, a great camp from Marcelo Meyer. A lot of the prospects looked great this spring. Watching Garrett Crochet take the mound, it just wasn't fair at times. This is someone, I think it was 18 strikeouts per 9. Like, he was going right at hitters all spring. The stuff looked great. Every reason the Red Sox wanted to watch him, he put on display this spring. Now we get to see it in a real game.
I know. He definitely lived up to the hype. And the part that stood out to me the most, because you hear about it, which again, a lot of things so far for me have been hearsay. Now I get to experience it, but his strikeout to inning ratio was dumb. That's all everybody just kept telling me. And I was like, okay, do you want to elaborate on this? And then spring training happens and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, this guy is for real. And then, some of the question marks is going to be like having that starter role, having that full-time role. What's that going to look like? But I feel like spring training just already showed you how hungry he is. And then without reaching a contract extension before opening day, there's still a little bit of time in terms of when they're back home, but he didn't want to negotiate it throughout the season. So it tells you you're coming in with a prove it on top of a prove it. And he's just such a sick player. George and I were talking about it on chat. He's not far off. I think top 3 when it comes to the Cy Young conversation as well, for a number of reasons. So he's living up to the hype, but I can't wait to see it in full swing. The translation between spring training to the real season, but it seems like the real deal.
He's certainly my favorite in the Cy Young race. I think he was, only behind Skubal in Detroit in terms of the preseason odds. So that's certainly one to watch. And we talked about that a lot on the spread last week. This should be a very exciting one with him taking the mound. I was talking to Jonathan Papelbon the other day, and he was practically doing, cartwheels to get to have this type of power pitcher that just goes at people on the zone. And it should be really fun to watch Crochet on opening day. He gets the ball for the Red Sox. The Rangers are going to counter it with an old friend of Boston and Nathan Eovaldi, who gets the opening day start for them. The Red Sox opened at a 1.5 run favorites for opening day. So I think the matchup that I want to get into is some of the pitcher props for this group as well. Mm-hmm. For Crochet, the line set at over under 6.5 strikeouts, over -150, under plus 115. And I don't think anyone's outsmarting Vegas here. I think everyone knows that this could be a day where Crochet racks them up.
Oh my gosh, I think that it has to be. And plus, you're looking at a couple of times last year when he got his opportunities, and I feel like he kind of made these numbers look so minute sometimes. So I like the over opportunities, especially when it comes to him and strikeouts. I know the Rangers are in the conversation for being one of those top teams out west, especially to kind of maybe have a further postseason run. They're trying to answer some questions over their previous 2 seasons, but I like Crochet's numbers when it comes to the mound. I'm going to go with the over 6.5 on this one for sure.
I would join you, and I think this is a game where it's early in the season. There might be some extra swing and miss. Nathan Eovaldi's stuff is still really good too. I think this could be a day where you hit the over for both starters. On the offensive side, it's also a chance to see what some of the power looks like on both sides. The Rangers still have a really good lineup. I think for me, I'm still not as high on them. Still probably to win the West, but I'm just not as high on them as everyone else is. But it's understandable to see why with their lineup. They could have some power. But on the Red Sox side, look at maybe some guys that could leave the yard on opening day. Rafael Devers has gone deep on, I believe, his last 2 road opening days, which would have been off Garrett Cole, shocker, in 2022 against the Yankees, and then did it last year against Luis Castillo in Seattle. I don't know. That's a little trend that may be one you look into. I believe he's plus 300 to go deep on opening day. Could Rafael Devers be a little sprinkle in Texas?
Ooh, you're giving me another pizza money challenge.
I think so. I like this pizza money a lot more than the Diggs 20-1. I'll tell you that. Way more confident here.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's so worth it because then you end up getting these surprises out here. I feel like I'm gonna lean towards Duran on this one. I when you're talking putting a little sprinkle down on something, and then obviously like the payback ratio on this one. Kind of the conversations coming out of spring training and stuff, kind of sticking with that prove it and some of those headlines that have been revolving around. There's a number of guys that are going to have to prove their power, and that's going to have to be the game that they do it in. And there's going to be some weak spots where they can kind of try to pressure the Rangers, and I feel like Duran's going to have the ability to kind of rise to the occasion on this one. So when I talk about pizza money, I'm going to actually go and put some pizza money over on Duran.
Do you like it as the leadoff home run of the game, or maybe at some point later in the game?
Some point later. I'm not going to get crazy and go lead off.
It'd be fun. I like the spark. I mean, he's the spark plug, so I mean, it would be fun, for first step out of the season. But I don't know. It's good value there, plus 500 too. I think someone goes right, and they had a couple home runs on opening day last year in Seattle, so that should certainly be an area to watch. And again, a lineup that can certainly, this has been one of the best offenses in baseball for years, and they look even better. Alex Bregman's going to be in that mix too, so it should be a lot of fun. First run prop is something I looked at too. Red Sox minus 165 obviously makes sense as the road team. Rangers plus 125. Who do you see scoring first on opening day?
Ooh, this one's a good question. I had a couple of guys in the mix, and I changed my mind after talking to George yesterday, so I'm just going to put that out there. But in terms of the first run, actually, what's your answer first? I'm not going to copy, but I'm going to see what you had.
I think they score in the first inning. The Red Sox do. So I would take them there. Again, it's not a ton of value, but it feels like if you want to sprinkle that in with something else, if you want to parlay it, that feels like a good start to get some value there. I do think they'll score early. I think the top part of that lineup, the top 4, I love the way that Alex Cora seems to have that constructed with Duran, Devers, Bregman, Casas. There's so much thunder there. I think someone's bound to strike on opening day. There's going to be a lot of juice in this team.
Yeah, I like it. My only concern is I feel like because coming into this matchup, I think Red Sox will be stronger when it comes to responding defensively. And I think that the Rangers are going to try to make a quick and fast opening as to like what their offense can deliver. They didn't have to make too many moves in the offseason, but operations wise, they got the players that they were looking for. So not in a bad way. I feel like the Rangers are going to try to do a tone setter here, but I think that the Red Sox are going to respond, and that's going to be encouraging because what we want to see is more of a consistent defensive respond in these moments.
We can open this up to the rest of the series, and I was happy that DraftKings had this on there. For a series outcome, again, 4 games set down at Globe Life Field, a series split at plus 160, the Rangers plus 165, and the Red Sox at plus 210 to win the series, which I think I might be more inclined to lean into. I think they have the pitching advantage in most of this series, even without a few starters that are going to start the season on the injured list with Bayo and Cutter Crawford and Lucas Giolito. I like how they line up throughout the course of the weekend. Walker Buehler goes on Saturday. Richard Fitz goes on Sunday. Again, Crochet, I like him with the edge on opening day. I would be inclined to take the Red Sox solely because I think they match up better from a starting pitching matchup throughout the course of this series.
Yeah, I'm going with the Red Sox on that one. I feel like the Rangers are going to try to have their testy moments in those first couple of innings, but series as a whole, I think that the Red Sox are going to have the better rotation in my opinion, because there's some pieces the Rangers are going to have to adjust with being without. So even though they got players in return, I think that name, statistics, quality, Red Sox have the stronger hand in this mix.
Should be a very fun one throughout the course of the series, both on opening day and all weekend long. It's gonna feel good to see this team play meaningful games finally and get ready to go, because this spring training felt like it, especially after the Bregman deal, right, to start camp, the anticipation just grew so quickly, because there's been I feel like this offseason has taken a few starts where they always talk about, baseball is a marathon, not a sprint, but it went through like a few different paces where winter meetings come. Garrett Crochet is a Red Sox. Walker Buehler falls a few weeks later.
Silence.
Then that little silence, then silence was heard. Like it was like 6 weeks of that. That's all. And then boom, right at the start of camp.
Wait,
Alex
don't forget
Bregman
the
died.
drama on. Oh, we lost Bregman because we
That's
started
right.
hearing the numbers coming out of Detroit, and everybody was going severe depression. It felt like a complete loss. And then the quick pivot to like, no, we actually got him, like without giving him the long-term deal. And he chose Boston over Detroit. So that was dramatic, to say the least.
I was so mentally just like when I remember the night he signed it. I was covering a Celtics game against San Antonio, and I just remember hearing that like little whispers after Joe Mazzulla's press conference. Like I heard Bregman, and I'm like, why am I hearing that here? And then I'm like, I'm like, did he sign with the Red Sox? Like, yeah. And so then obviously that changes the course of your night. But I was just so out of like that realm of possibility of that deal still happening. I was writing everything Nolan Arenado for 3 days on NESN.com.
Oh my gosh.
which feels like an entire day. And look who comes to Fenway for opening day with the Cardinals too. It's funny how it works, but it just felt like there's been little of those peaks and valleys of pace throughout the offseason. There was just so much up and down and waiting to see what the next move was, then a sprint of moves. Now to finally see this team in action, I can't wait.
I know. And then the other competition or like conversation that just kept going round and round we go was which of these prospects was going to make the opening day roster. And then we find out Christian Campbell gets the tap. And I think he just also brings versatility to the lineup or like where they can use him most. He's not coming in being hell bent on one situation over the other, but I feel like this prospect pool is going to get the look that it deserves this upcoming season. Campbell getting things started, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the other guys come the second part of the season overall. So a lot of factors that play into all of it, but it's going to make it that much sweeter versus the Rangers. I think that what a better way to kind of get things going outside, like opening day at home, that is, other than a team that's actually trying to get like the same level of push, because people think that the Red Sox are going to be an underdog or, a dark horse in the competition towards getting further in the postseason than beforehand.
Yeah, last note on them. Again, we've talked Red Sox odds quite a bit the last few weeks on the show, but now that opening day is finally here, is there a later in the season, postseason future that you like out of the group? They're, minus money to make the playoffs, minus 125. They're still the third best odds on DraftKings to win the AL East. I think that might be the area to go because, again, the Yankees are still going to be a good team. They're the reigning American League champions for a reason, but that rotation's a lot different without Garrett Cole, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. And that's the same kind of story in terms of starting rotation worries for the Orioles.
Right.
That feels like if you're looking for value on a postseason future for the Red Sox, like they're going to be a playoff team. I think that's very unanimous to say across the board right now. But the odds on, I feel like the AL East conversation's heightened the last few weeks, but maybe the odds haven't matched that. That feels like value if you're going to look for a later season future for the Red Sox.
Definitely valuable because you're still looking at them being, slotted to contend with the Yankees. There's conversation. I wouldn't be surprised to watch the numbers move around over the next 60 days in terms of like the Orioles. There's just the Red Sox did what they needed to do in terms of building out a team to compete for one. For two, that defensive element with bringing in Bregman, I just can't stress that enough because there was a number of games that were just narrow misses, and it was because of the inability to defend, as well as they were trying to be consistent and scoring and offenses. With the Yankees, I just have a couple of question marks. They've got some untimely injuries that are coming into play, so you also don't know which players are going to show up at what point of the season to try to tilt things in favor of the Yankees. So this is a kind of a really good sneaky path for the Boston Red Sox. And then I just touched back on those pieces that they can count on getting over the second half of the season hump. That's where we're really going to see if this team has what it takes. And I feel like they're going to be able to have the versatility out of a number of players. They're going to have young guys that they can tap on need be to make sure that everybody is staying as fresh as possible to continue to deliver at the perfect points of the season. So I like it a lot. Tampa Bay Rays, y'all know where I'm from, but they're young. They're trying to figure out some start over points. And yeah, the whole thing about them maybe not having the proper stadium. So you're talking about players having to reacclimate their style of play because they're going into a smaller stadium, and there's a lot of emotions around that. So I love the AL East. I love the numbers there, but I even would contend to go as far, like a little further out of the division to say how well they'll compete.
Should be a very fun one in Boston. Again, the Red Sox trying to make the postseason for the first time since 2021. All starts opening day. Red Sox Rangers 4:05 first pitch. You can watch on NESN and watch all season long as the Red Sox make that push, hopefully back to October.